Okay. Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Sunday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Parrish Construction and Roofing. If you need an orthopedic, go to Brock. You need a roof, you call Parrish. Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com, Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com. Of course, a Unique Physique, semaglutide, tirzepatide, the once-a-week injections for weight loss. Lowest prices, they now have introduced 3-month pricing. So pay for 3 months, you'll save $100. Never any contracts, telemed available, and they can ship your medicine anywhere in the country. Uniquephysique.com. Drew's awake. You want to stand at that show?
No.
Say hi. Say hi.
Hi, Dad.
Oh, that's good. Did you sleep good last night?
Video.
Okay. Did you sleep good last night?
Yeah.
Good. You have videos of Daddy's phone?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be right back. 10 seconds. Time. Okay. All right. Okay, y'all. Let's get going here. So Saints Giants game day today. I'll be watching. I think probably maybe one of the final opportunities we're going to get to see the Saints win a game this year. I do think the Saints win today. I think today and then the home game against the Raiders here in a few weeks, probably the last opportunities the Saints will have to win games this season. So I know it's a little conflicting. People are, what do you cheer for? What do you cheer for? Do you cheer for the draft pick? Do you want the team to win? I'll always say I want my team to win. I mean, draft picks are not a certainty, and the Saints are so willing to wheel and deal and trade on draft day anyway. And I think ultimately you let the chips fall where they may with that. I mean, the one instance I would tell you where I would argue to the contrary is if you're like in line for like the number one overall pick in a draft year where there is a seemingly transcendent player. And I know sometimes that gets misused or overused, but I mean, look, think about it. I mean, that was supposed to be the case with Caleb Williams this year, and it may be, but Jaden's ended up being so far the better player. There was the Trevor Lawrence year where Trevor Lawrence was just so far and away clearly the number one quarterback, number one player in the draft. I mean, something like that, I might say, but otherwise, I'm always going to cheer for my team to win. I want them to win. So hopefully we get a good game today. Kendre Miller's been activated for the Saints. So that'll be interesting to see. Listen to Darren Rizzi talk about Kendre Miller this week. I thought was really fascinating, talking about how everyone's got a clean slate. It was very clear that Miller was in Dennis Allen's doghouse, and Darren Rizzi's giving him a clean slate, and see if 25 can make some plays for the Saints today. So. And then, of course, yesterday was Championship Saturday. What'd y'all think of it, man? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on Championship Saturday. We'll get the College Football Playoff Committee's decision here in a few hours on who will be in. Obviously, the giant question is SMU or Alabama. I mean, everybody knows where I fall on it. It's not an anti-Alabama thing. It's not. I mean, last year, I hate this flawed way of selecting teams to participate in a championship, and the results on the field have to matter. I don't know how you could tell a team, hey, you're eighth. You're in the playoff. And hey, because you had such a great season, as a reward, you get to go play for this conference championship game. And you play in the conference championship game and you lose, and you're penalized for playing in the conference championship game. I was livid when they did it to Georgia last year. I was livid when they took 13-0 Florida State and kept them out last year. And if SMU isn't in, that's crock. And and I know the counter argument. I'm not looking at comments yet. I'll get to them, but I know what some of y'all are going to say. You're going to say, but who do they play? Okay. Why is Boise in? I don't care about the eye test. I don't care about the eye test. I don't care what you think. If what you think matters, why do we play games? You know what I think? I think the 2007 New England Patriots are the greatest football team ever assembled. You know who has the 2007 Lombardi Trophy? The New York Giants. Why? Because they played a game, and on that day, the Giants won, and so they get the trophy. They won the game. Doesn't matter what you think. You don't get to go back after the game and say, congrats, Giants, really nice game, but we think New England's better, so we're going to give them the trophy. No, you played a game. You played the game. That was the result. So I don't have a lot of sympathy. Hey, Alabama, you're upset? Don't get skull drugged by a 500 Oklahoma team. Don't go to Vanderbilt and give up 40. Ole Miss, you're sad today? Don't lose to a miserable Kentucky team on your home field. How about that? Then you're in. It's your fault. The results on the field have to matter. So it would be a total crock to punish a team for playing in a conference championship game. And if they do, then I think what you'll start to have happen is leagues will take a strong look at structuring of their schedule for conference championship games. I mean, there's two things really. There's the value of a conference championship game, number one. But then the flip side of it is Clemson doesn't get in without the conference championship game. So there's that part of it. And then the second part is on the flip side of it, you're going to have leagues looking at their strength of schedule to say, if your win-loss record is ultimately what matters most, then why do we play tough games? So people who are wondering, will the SEC go to nine league games? No. I mean, why would you add a ninth game if in adding a ninth game you are guaranteeing half of your league an extra loss? Why would you add a ninth game if you're not going to be rewarded for playing the ninth game? And similarly, why would you schedule tough non-conference opponents? And so those are all interesting conversations, and I understand the conversation. I'm open to any part of those conversations. But as of now, all you have to go on is what you know. And what you know is you played a full season of games, and the results on the field have to matter. Go this way. All right, let's say some good mornings here. Hey, Tim, good morning. Christian, good morning. Who dat? Hunter, hoping we get the Gator Bowl looking like Texas Bowl. Yeah, I haven't heard. Hunter, I don't think LSU's going to any of the Florida Bowls. The Florida Bowls don't want LSU because LSU doesn't travel. So I think you're looking at Texas Bowl or Music City are the two that I was hearing, and most likely Texas against TCU or Baylor is what I've heard. Hey, Jeremy, good morning. Franco Nation, morning, Matt. What a wild championship weekend. Hopefully SMU gets in. Bama is out. Juan, hope all's well with the family. Thank you, man. Tell me Bama's out of the CFP picture. What time will we know bowl destination? Yeah, so we'll know the bowls. Like as soon as the CFP stuff is announced, then you'll start to see the bowl announcements come. Okay. That I was texting about the bowl. Thomas, Jingle Gate Day 7. We'll get it. Hey, John, how's Drew's doing better this morning? Thank you. Do you think SMU gets in over Bama? I don't know what's going to happen. I think the scenario to keep Bama out is exactly what unfolded. Obviously, if SMU had won the game, then Bama would have been in. If Clemson had won in a blowout, then I think there's more of a case to keep SMU out. Because the game unfolded the way it did, and if you didn't watch the game, Clemson got up 14-0 in a blink. Quick turnover by SMU, and then a stop and a score. I mean, it was in a blink. They were down. SMU had a 17-point fourth quarter, stormed back, and tied the game with 16 seconds left. But then, Clemson got like a 39-yard kickoff return, completed one pass, and then they lined up for a 56-yard field goal with 1 second left or whatever it was, and the kid just nailed it. I mean, 56 yards for the win. I mean, dead center. So, I mean, that's the scenario you needed to unfold, where SMU lost to Clemson won a close game. So you can make the very strong argument, how do you penalize SMU for losing on a walk-off 56-yard field goal in their conference championship game when you had them in and then they go lose that game? Like, how do you keep them out? Sorry, I just read that one. Sorry. Hey, Mark, good morning. Thomas, Steven, what up, man? Good morning. Rocky, yeah, man. We're on the mend here this morning, thankfully. Drew slept yesterday until about 2:30 in the afternoon. So he went to bed Friday night about 9 o'clock, woke up about 9:30 a.m. So he slept about 12 hours. He woke up, was really kind of sad, and his head was hurting. He was kind of inconsolable. He fell back asleep on the couch at like 10:30 and slept until 2:30. So his little body went through a lot, but he's feeling better. Ryan, boy, did SMU look good or what? After the slow start, they did. Hey, Kelly, good morning. Jesse, SMU deserves to be in the CFP. Juan, why do I keep torturing myself finding ways to go see this LSU team play and break my heart? I must be a masochist. What do you mean? Which LSU team? Oh, you're going to go to the bowl game? Matthew Saunier, good morning. Mr. Fontenot, morning, Matt. I won't be surprised if Bama gets in. We've seen this movie before. I agree with you. I don't know what they're going to do, but I won't be surprised at all if Alabama's in. I do believe there is absolutely something to the fact that the SEC and the Big Ten hold all the cards in college football. And I think the committee, the powers that be in the playoff, know that if you tick off the Big Ten and the SEC, they could very easily just say, we're going to go do our own thing. Like, why should Boise State be in instead of Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina? I get it. Ooh, look at this. The Giants haven't covered a spread in 7 games. No NFL team has ever not covered the spread in 8 straight games. Can the Saints do it? Interesting. What's the line this morning? Is it 3 or is it 5? Or I think it was 5. Didn't I say get up to 5 and maybe came down to 4? Let me see. It is Saints Giants line is 5. I don't know, Steven. 5 is a big number on the road in the NFL. I'd love to see it. Hey, Rex. Bama fans thinking they get SMU in because SMU is 0-3 in top 25. Bama is 3-1. Maybe. Again, like there's a singular argument that is inarguable. Let me give you a separate argument first, so you know that this isn't just an anti-Alabama take. There's a lot of South Carolina people who, and I have a friend who's a South Carolina fan. And when last week's rankings came out, he was livid because it was clear Carolina's not getting it. And everything he kept throwing at me, I was like, you lost to Bama and Ole Miss. Yeah, but we played so much better in 1-6. You lost to Bama and Ole Miss. Yeah, but Bama lost to Oklahoma in November. You lost to Bama and Ole Miss. You're out. Yeah, we lost by 2 on the road to Alabama. You lost to Bama and Ole Miss. There is no argument for South Carolina. None. There's no argument. Like, I can't. The results on the field have to matter. There's no argument for South Carolina. So I'll say the same thing. If we're going to sit here a week ago and say SMU is in, they're number 8. They're not only they're in, they're firmly in. They're number 8. Okay, SMU is in. So they go play a conference championship game. While Alabama doesn't have to play, you get rewarded to go play a conference championship game, and in playing the extra game, it's going to cost you a spot in the playoff because you lost on a 56-yard walk-off field goal? But all that said, I wouldn't doubt it at all if they leave SMU out. So the thing that I would tell you to be mindful of is this. It's the same thing that I told you last year when Florida State got left out, and some of y'all said, oh, they should be out. They're not good with it. I'm like, okay, again, that's your eye test. That's your opinion. They beat Florida and won the conference championship game without Jordan Travis. They were 13-0. They won every game they played. They should be in. What if that were your team? Put yourself in that situation. Let's say LSU next year is 13-0, but God forbid Nuss got hurt at the end of the season. And the committee said, yeah, we don't think you're as good without him. You're not in. Imagine the melt here. Imagine the melt. I mean, all you can do is play the games you play and lean on the results. And the reason I yell so loudly about the decisions the committee makes, also why I never, ever pay attention at all to any of the playoff committee show ranking stupid thing that I tell you every single year. I don't care what the rankings are. I don't watch up until this point because none of it matters until the final, because they're going to do whatever they want, regardless of precedent, because there's no accountability. The reason I yell so loudly is because it's only a matter of time before it's your team. You may not care about Florida State, but what if that was your team? You may not have cared about Georgia last year, but what if that was your team? What if you were undefeated, 12-0, number 1 in the country, you go to the SEC championship game, you lose, and then you're out? What if that was your team? That's why you have to fix flaws and injustices in the system, because it's only a matter of time before it comes to bite your team. And if SMU gets left out, it's only a matter of time before it's your team. That's in, and then you go play the extra game, the conference championship game, you lose and you're out. Thomas Moore, any insight on Nuss staying or going? I feel like he stays, makes a leap second year as a starter. I think he would make a leap as a starter. We've got plenty of history to suggest that, and he was actually better this year than the previous guys we've talked about in their first year as a starter. As far as insight about him staying or going, what I'll say is what I've told y'all and been told, which is I think Doug Nussmeier wants him to return, but there's some things they want to know. Who's going to be calling the plays? What's the offensive line going to look like? Who's he throwing the ball to? So you've lost 3 of your top 4 pass catchers now. Kyron Lacey's going pro. CJ Daniels in the portal. Mason Taylor's going pro. So you've got Aaron Anderson coming back, but you're also very likely losing 4 starting offensive linemen. The one returning was your worst guy this year. So, I mean, who's calling plays? What's the offensive line look like? Who's he throwing to? You figure those things out, I think there's a really good chance Garrett comes back. But you got to figure those things out. Dale. Boise with a bye. You're right. Ryan, if Kelly struggles in the portal this offseason, do we start to panic? Kim and Jay don't have portal problems paying for elite talent where Kelly has. Your thoughts? So that's not exactly true, Ryan. As far as the oh god, it's storming. The inability to pay for elite talent. I mean, LSU baseball has missed out on some top tier talent that they've wanted. Maui Ahuna went to Tennessee. Outfielder from A&M last year. Why am I blanking? Braden Montgomery went to A&M. There's been plenty of those, and I don't want to overstep and say something I shouldn't, but suffice to say that the fundraising for those two sports has been a little bit of a struggle as well. Now, all that aside, to your point about football, yeah, I mean, this is the approach, right? I mean, every year you've learned more about roster building in this era. Year one, you had 15 guys out of the portal because you had to. And you've seen that number tick down each year subsequent. And you've seen the number of high school signees increase, which is how he wants to build a roster, which is great. I totally endorse that. But it was clear last year where they missed was they added a fair number of guys in the portal. You didn't add impact guys in the portal because you didn't spend for impact guys in the portal. Well, now you've got the money in hand to go spend. Now you got to do it. So, but I've said pretty clearly, talk to me in a month when the portal window closes. Let me see what this roster looks like. And in a month, I'll have a much better sense of what this team's going to be in 2025 and beyond. Hey, Brad, good morning. Jason, good morning from NYC. Okay, Saints better win today. That's why I'm here. Look at you, went up to New York to go to the Saints-Giants. Tony, Steven, can't foresee anyone forming their brain to say Bama should be in the playoffs. I agree with you. Like, in the second to last week of the season, you get blown out by a 500 football team and didn't score a touchdown. You're not a playoff team. Bama is burning. Good morning. Hey, Ryan, let's see. The eye test is a big fat joke. If SMU is not in, then why on earth bother ranking them anywhere near the top 10? That's the point. Damon, what do you think about the mayor race in BR? Yeah, man. I'm very happy for Sid Edwards. Y'all know I don't really do politics. I don't really talk politics. I don't really care about politics. But I have known Sid Edwards for a very long time. He was the freshman football coach at Catholic High when he was the head freshman football coach. My brother was in 8th grade there. So I've known Coach Sid for a long time, and like he's a great man. I mean, he has been a community servant, a servant leader. He's raised 2 special needs children. He, even while working, went back to school to get a graduate degree. And he has gone into communities that a lot of, I'll just say it very, very frankly, a lot of white people in Baton Rouge don't want to go into. When he was at Redemptorist and now when he's at Estruma. Baton Rouge it's so interesting. When I was doing news, and this is for those that don't live in Baton Rouge, don't know. So Baton Rouge, the mayoral election was last night. And Sid Edwards won. So Sid Edwards is a very, very successful and well-known high school football coach. He's a great man. But what's really interesting about it is Baton Rouge hasn't elected a Republican or a white mayor since Bobby Simpson in 2000. So it's been a quarter century. Because you had 3 terms of Kip and then 2 terms of Sharon Broome. And what's interesting is when Kip got elected, Baton Rouge very much votes on racial lines. And it's a line dividing North Baton Rouge and South Baton, essentially dividing downtown. North Baton Rouge is black, South Baton Rouge is white. I mean, that shouldn't be offensive to anybody. It's just what it is. And it was interesting because Bobby Simpson was a very ineffective mayor. White Baton Rouge voted for Kip Holden, a black Democrat, because he was a great unifier. I don't think Kip was super strong policy-wise, but he was a unifying mayor. Everybody felt like he was our mayor, no matter where you lived in town, that he was representative of you. And I think it's interesting because it's the same thing for Sid, sort of in reverse. That's a man that it just doesn't. I tweeted this last night. I went, well, actually, I'll just show you. Hang on. So this is one of my favorite books. It's Warwick Dunn's biography. It's called Running for My Life. It's autobiography, I guess. It's with Warwick Dunn and Don Yeager. It's a phenomenal book. Not just a sports book. This is a phenomenal book if anybody wants a good read. Warwick, here you go. I'll read you this line. So keep in mind, this is Warwick telling a story about how he struggled academically very much early at Catholic High and then turned it around. So keep in mind, this would have been 1989, 1990. Sid Edwards didn't think about running for mayor at this point. But here's a line in this book, which was the book was published in come on. 2008. All right. This book was published in 2008. So 16 years ago, this book was published. Here's Warwick Dunn speaking. My grade point average went from a 1.0 that first 9 weeks to a 2.4 by the final 9 weeks of my freshman year. I had 3 people to thank for my improvement. Mom, assistant football coach Sid Edwards, and Coach Edwards' wife, Beanie. Mom, of course, set the tone. She was my best friend, and I didn't want to disappoint her. Coach Edwards cared enough about me and other students that we met nearly every day after school to study. Beanie also would help tutor me at night. Coach Edwards told me that I had a great opportunity at Catholic, and he thought I was talented and smart enough to succeed. Coach could relate to what I was going through, and his approach made sense to me. When it was time to take a test, I was prepared. My grades gradually improved. I was determined to stand out in the classroom and on the athletic field. I mean, Sid Edwards is a great man. Like, I hope politics doesn't. I know how politics usually goes, but like, that's what I know of Sid. He's a great man. He's a great man who cares for people, and so I hope it's great for our city. Anyway, Spurge, good morning. Jacob Thompson, good morning. Damon, I don't think Indiana, SMU, or Texas should be in no ranked wins. Okay, then why are we playing games? You play the schedule you have. So if that's what you feel, then, I mean, why are we playing games? Well, results on the field have to matter, Damon. Like the solution to and Damon, like I understand your perspective, and I would say the solution is what I've always called for: a true playoff. Right? Get me to 32 teams, and a lot of you are going to roll your eyes, say, "Get me to 32 teams." Like they do it in high school, they do it. Give me to 32 teams, and have a bracket that is seeded based on power rankings. So then you're not worried about getting in. Now it's more about your draw. All these teams we're talking about, you'd all be in. And you'd have a chance to go prove it on the field. Like in a true playoff, SMU, Indiana, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, like in a true playoff, they should all be in. But you don't have a true playoff. We're getting closer. 2 was better than nothing. 4 is better than 2. 12 is better than 4. But we're not there yet. Austin, Matt, caught an ice chest full of speckled trout for the first time in 7 years. Catching up on sports news. Very good, man. Hope it was a great day. Mark Allen, since LSU's not in the playoffs, all I can wish for is chaos. Jesse, good morning. How's Drew? He's doing better. Thanks for asking, man. Hey, Gwen, what up, man? From Matsu, Alaska. My bet to you, Mrs. the E-Rock and Drew's block party. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing great. Please smash the like button if y'all would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. What up, club? Good morning. Good. Sweet. ACC championship was good. Kind of saved the best for last, right? I mean, I guess, shoot. I mean, Texas, Georgia ended up being a great game as well. How about Carson Beck getting hurt and then Gunnar Stockton coming in the second half and leading that touchdown drive right off the bat? Nathan, let's hear you talk about misleading people. Wait, let's hear you talk about you misleading people you don't know anything. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Great. Hope you're having a great Sunday. God bless you. Have a great day. Jason, good morning. Tony, the conference championships are completely irrelevant other than the fact it's a moneymaker. True. That's an absolute fact. The first SEC was the first conference institute championship game back in 1992 when Roy Kramer, then SEC commissioner, started the SEC championship game, and it was just that. It was a gate receipt, a TV product, and it was an opportunity to make money. The SEC did it very well, and every league followed suit. But for 100 years, there were no conference championship games. You don't need them. They're a useless exercise. Like in the NFL, you don't get to the end of the regular season and say, okay, let's have an NFC West championship game. No, you let the 16, 17 game schedule play out, and then you go into the playoffs with a truly seeded playoff. Jesse, ULL didn't show up for their bowl game. What a disappointment. What a bowl game. It was a conference championship game. But yeah, they got run at home. Steven, morning. Hope your son's doing good. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate it, man. Austin, Thomas, thoughts on Kirby's comments from the podium about the travel schedule Georgia had. I mean, he took and called Greg Sankey by name. Yeah, I mean, what he's talking about is Georgia had to play at Ole Miss, at Alabama, at Texas. Meanwhile, Texas couldn't have had an easier path to the conference championship game. It's going to happen like that sometimes where, like, everyone is going to play. Whenever you go through through a league schedule, someone is going to play the toughest schedule in the league and someone's going to play the easiest schedule in the league. What you hope for is that the gap between the two is minimized. Like that was certainly not the case this year. Like when you look at national strength of schedule, I think Texas's strength of schedule was in the 50s. So like their strength of schedule, their strength of record. Let me look at strength of schedule. So strength of schedule, Georgia won. Like here's national strength of schedule, right? National ranks. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Mississippi State. Number 3, Kentucky. Not surprisingly, those two teams finished dead last in the SEC. Oklahoma, Florida. So the top 5. By the way, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Florida. Georgia number 1, then Mississippi State, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Florida, who all finished at the bottom of the SEC, by the way. Then Purdue, Michigan, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, LSU. I mean, Bama was 16. Texas's strength of schedule was 21. That's after playing Georgia yesterday, which gave them a big boost. Like, I get it, man. Like, I get the frustration. Now, what's interesting is like if you look at strength of record, which is to say how many teams playing your schedule could have achieved the same record. Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Texas 3, Notre Dame 4, Penn State 5, Ohio State 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana 8, Alabama 9, Boise 10, South Carolina 11, BYU, Arizona State, Miami, SMU, Army, LSU 17. Anyway, just food for thought. Tommy Vittles, the Italian guy playing. No, he's not playing today. Tommy Cutlets. No, he's not playing. Trivia, what's up, man? Good morning. Henry, I personally don't want to see any SEC team in the playoff. I want all SEC teams to suck. Benefits LSU, none of the other conference teams make the playoff. I agree. I am not a cheer for the conference guy. Never have been, never will be. Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Texas, any of those teams doing well does not benefit LSU. All that does is give them more bargaining chips in recruiting. It builds more excitement around their program, engages donors more. I don't need that. I need them to stink. I need them to be doormats. Yeah, Mark asked if this means Alabama's in the bracket with SMU's loss. I don't know. That's the one question we don't know. I think had it been a blowout, had Clemson blown out SMU, then I think it's a pretty easy decision. Well, let me rephrase. I don't think it would have been an easy decision. I still don't think it would have been the right decision, but I think they would have justified their decision to put Alabama in. With it playing out the way it did, with a 56-yard walk-off field goal at the gun, I think it's much harder to look at SMU and say, okay, you went and played a conference championship game. You lost on a walk-off field goal at the gun. You're out. If they weren't in prior, then you could keep them out. But the fact that they were in and comfortably in at number 8, and then they lose that game the manner in which they did, it's really hard to justify taking them out. Murder Giraffe, good morning. Kirk Taylor, good morning. Jason, what's up? Brad, is Evermore sold in individual bottles in gas stations or only grocery stores? There's gas stations that carry it. Like they have a national deal with 7-Eleven, for example. Emmett Bean, good morning from Maryland. Okay. Nathan. Oh, Nathan's the Game Coin guy. Got it. Nathan, it's funny because it's always the broke people like you who, and yeah, I'm going to call you out, who invested the least, who always yell the loudest. Because I guarantee you this, I guarantee you that I have more in that financially on a multiple than you. So kick rocks, loser. And how about this, Nathan? If you did actually buy Gamecoin, which I don't know that you did, but maybe you did. But if you did actually buy Gamecoin, how about this? Instead of being a jackleg loser who comes on my live stream on a Sunday morning, disrupting people's morning coffee with all of your insults, how about you say, hey, this platform looks pretty cool. Let me see who might be interested in using it and go try to promote it instead of just shedding and spewing your negativity, you friggin' loser. I wish this wasn't Morning Scone so I could say all the bad words about losers like you. What happened to Gamecoin? Tristan, actually the platform is launched. It's called On Fire Athletes. And the long story short is they couldn't use the name Gamecoin because of a lot of the SEC regulations involving crypto. So the platform is launched. It's called On Fire Athletes. It launched about a month ago. And I have tremendous respect for David Mailer because that's a guy who's made a lot of money in other industries and did not need this stress in his life and could have walked away from it, but committed to building and launching this platform did. When multiple developers kept bailing, he went and bought a tech company to finish the platform. And now it's launched. It's awesome. It's everything I thought it could be. I just put the link in there. So think of it this way. Yes, there will be pro athletes on the platform creating their own card, everything. But think of it this way. I think the scalability of it is with youth athletes. And so every time a youth athlete wants to go make their own card, think of it like when I was a kid. I don't know if y'all were the same way. When I was a kid, you'd play baseball or football, whatever, and you'd have picture day, and then you could get your pictures, your photos. And there was one option where you could make like a card, like your own card, like with your picture, your photo on it. This is an awesome thing that kids can do on their phone, and they could trade with their friends and keep them on there. And there's also AR, augmented reality components of it as well. And Gamecoin is the utility token. So if you use Gamecoin to purchase the card, then you get a discount on the card. If you use fiat currency, use a credit card or whatever, then part of that purchase will be used to go buy game coin and burn it. So you're increasing liquidity on the token and reducing the volume of the token as well. So people like Nathan are just losers. They're losers in life, unfortunately, who just need something to complain about. So that guy is a loser in life. He'll never win at anything in life. I'm going to go to church and I'll pray for him because people like that need prayers. Because if you're someone who is that unhappy and that uncertain, that clearly you go and put any degree of money that clearly you don't have into something you know nothing about, that's your fault. But I'm still as bullish as I've ever been on it because the platform is exactly what I thought it would be. It looks phenomenal. Now it's about going to market it and getting people to use it. So onfireathletes.com, check it out. And if you know, have sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, grandchildren who play youth sports, tell them to check it out because it's phenomenal. They can make their own trading card with their own. You can put a highlight on there. You can put photos on there. You can do. It's phenomenal. Go check it out. onfireathletes.com. Mike, folks, can put Bam in for TV ratings. I don't know if it's as much for TV ratings, Mike, as it is trying to appease the SEC because the SEC and the Big Ten could very well like take their ball and go home. Let's see. JD want Bama to get in so they get that fourth loss. I mean, I'm certain of that if Bama does get in the playoff, they're not going to win the national championship because they're not a good team. They're not going to need the line of scrimmage. Their quarterback can't complete a forward pass. Their coach is not a great coach. I mean, they got skull drugged by a 500 Oklahoma team. That's not a good football team. So they'll get outclassed by the better teams in the conference, and they'll lose, and I'll laugh at them if they do. But SMU should be in, shouldn't be penalized for making the conference championship. Okay. Hey, is your backpack done? Come see.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Oh, man.
Yep, you are done. Good job.
Then video. Then we got the carrot.
Oh.
Video, please.
Videos, please. Okay, good job.
Video, please.
Okay. All right, Thomas, here you go, man. I'm sure you're still watching. Hang on. Here you go.
Parish Construction and Roofing. At Parish, we've got you covered. From the top of your roof, all the way down. Parish Construction and Roofing. Parish built. Parish built. Parish built. From your hometown, ParishBuilt.com.
All right, y'all. Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Parish Construction Roofing. You need an orthopedic, go to Brock. You need a roof, call Parish. Kirk, if it's about ratings and putting in the best brands, why play the game? That's the point I've always made. Results on the field have to matter. I don't care what you think. I don't care what your eye test says. It's about the results on the field. Did you play games? Did you win? And I don't want to just be a guy that complains. I'll tell you, I'll give you a solution. So my solution is you expand the playoff. But I hope they go, next they'll go to 16, but they're getting closer. I'd go to 32. I would do just like you have in high schools. 32. And you're going to say, oh, that's too many. Yeah, right. It's too many. Who wants more football? Yeah, nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants more football than an actual fair playoff. I would go to 32. And I would use a power ranking system that everyone knew before the season to seed the teams. That way, you're not worried about people's opinions on a committee. If you're going to go schedule tough, you're going to be rewarded for it, for playing tougher games. It's going to help your seed, your power ranking, whatever you want to call it. And if you play an FCS school, you're going to get dinged. So it's kind of like in basketball. You have the net ranking. Now, the net ranking isn't the only metric used, but it's pretty good in determining the strength of teams based on the quality of their wins, who they played, their record, all that sort of stuff. So, that's what I would like to see them do. And and we'd be less incensed about one of the reasons people hated the BCS is because every year there were teams that maybe had an argument that got left out. Same thing with 4, and it's the same thing now at 12. And I know what you're going to say. The argument is always, well, no matter how many that you expand it to, there's always going to be people complaining that are on the outside looking in. And that's true. It's the same with the basketball tournament where you have 68 teams in the field, and then 69, 70, 71 always complain about not being in. Okay. I have less sympathy for team 69, 70, 71 than I do team 5. Like undefeated Florida State last year, 13-0, not getting an opportunity is criminal. Georgia being undefeated, number 1 in the country, losing the stupid conference championship game and being out is criminal. Like, how can anyone look at that and say that's a fair and equitable schedule? That's a just way to that's the best way to determine a champion. It's stupid. Like the sport we all love in college football is the stupidest sport possible when it comes to determining its champion. It always has been, because it's always been run by the powers that be, who are singularly focused on money. And I'm not saying money is a bad thing at all, but it is. I mean, college football forever has outsourced its postseason. The bunch of old people in ugly blazers trying to make money, fronting themselves as charitable organizations, which they're not. Drew's in their coffin. Just make sure he's okay. Anyway. All right, please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Glad to have you all here with us. Hey, Ryan, good morning. Michael Cook, good morning. Pierce, thoughts on Shelton Sampson, Kylan Jackson entering the portal. Yeah, man. Pierce actually did a Locked on LSU episode on both them. I think for Shelton, when Kyle Parker passed him up this year after Chris Hilton's injury, that was pretty telling. And for Kylan Jackson, same thing. When you struggled so mightily at safety this year and he couldn't crack the rotation, it's pretty telling. So usually by year 3, if you're not at a place like LSU, if you're not contributing significantly, it's probably not going to happen. So I get it. I get those guys leaving. I'm disappointed. I mean, of course, you love those guys to stay. Cortland, I'd be worried about too many extra games in first round guys opting out to avoid injury. Well, like the true answer, Cortland, is you can track the regular season. Like, you don't need the game against Nichols and the game against South Alabama. Like, do away with the games nobody wants to see, contract it from 12 to 10, and then have a true playoff. But they're not going to do that, because if you contract the regular season, you're taking away 2 home gates. So that's 2 more games of tradition fund, 2 more games of parking, 2 more games of ticket revenue, of concessions, and all the things that go into having those home games. And so they're not going to, despite all the things about player safety, it's not about any of that. It's all about revenue. And now that you're in the revenue sharing era, there's a way you could do it. Live leaner. Live leaner. Don't put the gymnastics team on a private plane to fly to their meet in Arkansas. I mean, the women's basketball team loses how many millions of dollars? Why are they flying private? Oh, I'm sorry. That's offensive to somebody? I don't care. Like, we all have to live fiscally responsible in our lives. Why do athletic programs that lose millions of dollars every year continue to live and exist luxuriously? I mean, I treat it like high school. You want new uniforms? Have a bake sale. That's offensive to some. I don't care. Like, that's the answer. Just nobody wants to say it or live by it. John, what did you think of Jacob Hester playing for Arizona State? Very similar running style. Oh, you mean that he's a white running back? Kirby complaining for a coach who wins so much. He's got an argument this year, Corlin, because the league sure didn't treat him like a coach that's won as much as they, or a program that's won as much as they have. That schedule this year was brutal. It was not equitable in any way. And they still overcame it. Good for him. Hey, Tom, good morning. 2024 Rudolph roll weather. Huge success, even with the weather. I'll have to get you next year about helping promote it. Okay. Kirby won't be upset next year when those schools go to Georgia. That's true, Ben, but he's still going to have to play Bama and Texas and Ole Miss and Tennessee. And that's still going to be a brutal schedule. I mean, you're right. Everything flips. And those teams go to Oxford or to Athens. But it's still all those teams on the schedule. Alabama's going to get in because they're a money draw. They may. Army needs to be in. Why can't Hankston win any good high school recruits? I don't know. I mean, I feel like LSU's always had really good receivers. Interesting. Georgia's strength of schedule is high, even though their SEC opponent conference winning percentage was not great compared to LSU and Bama. Clemson gives them a boost. That was their choice. But they also played Texas and Bama. And what took them down in that percentage, Cortland, was the bottom, because they did play Kentucky. Yeah. So they played Kentucky and Mississippi State, which were the bottom two in the league, which brought that number down. Let's see.
Go this way. Go this way.
Go
this way.
Go this way. Let's see. Fred, morning, Matt. What's a weight loss secret? I don't know if there's a secret, Fred. Discipline and good habits. I mean, y'all who have been here for a while remember, like, months and months ago, we started talking about Gary Brecka. I don't know if you remember that. So, and a lot of you asked how it's going. Actually, I guess it's been right at 6 months now. No, it has to have been longer than 6 months, but I'm doing probably about 7 months. But on Wednesday, I had my blood draw for my blood work. So this Friday, I'll get my blood labs and I'll let y'all know how it's gone. But I just made a lot of, like, healthy life changes. I cold plunge every morning. I supplement for deficiency. So I did the blood test that Gary Brecka talks about, that methylation test. So I guess not a blood test. It's a swab, a genetic test. And so I'm trying to think how to simplify this, how to oversimplify this, so it's not because it's pretty complex. But effectively, I got tested for deficiency, and I supplement for deficiency. Where is my body deficient that I can't make up for with nutrition? So I supplement for deficiency. I cold plunge every morning. I do hot works, and I eat sensibly, man. I subscribe to Factor meals. So in Factor, you can do, like, it's a meal prep program, And so you could do like Whole30 or keto or vegan or whatever you want. And the meals come portioned and packaged every Monday to my house. And so I intermittent fast. So I wake up every morning. I do my amino acid drink, so there's no calories, so it maintains my fast. I do my I do my supplements, my amino acid drink, and I have a black coffee, so I maintain my fast. But I wake up, I do my supplements, I go cold plunge, and then I come do morning scone with my black coffee. I on the mornings that I get up, I go to Hot Works at like 5:30, and then I don't eat until lunch, which is usually around like 1:00. I have my factor meal for lunch, a factor meal for dinner. I drink a ton of water, drink even more every day. I have my hydrogen water bottle I've told you all about. So it's just, I think it's just been a lot of, I mean, it's just been a long time, very good habits. What's interesting is I have been losing weight for a while now. I think just, it's been weird because like in the last 2 or 3 weeks is when like everybody seems to be noticing now, which is interesting to me. Um, Sean. Kirk, how many game coin is being mined or coded? So there was 100 billion in circulation. And remember, every time game coin was bought or traded, part of the tokenomics is that more coin got burned. So the circulating supply, every time it gets bought or traded, continues to reduce. So it creates more scarcity over time. Yeah, not going after him now. Trivia, is there an app? No. Let's see. Miracle Martinez. Morning, Matt. Appreciate your takes. Go Tigers, hook 'em horns. While you're at it, pray for all of us. I will. Greensy said, what's going on with Mike Williams? Why isn't he playing? Good question. And LSU plays Florida Gulf Coast today. In basketball, I like Mike Williams too. I just honestly, I think Victorious Miller came in and has taken those minutes, and that, and you went and added 3 veteran guards in your backcourt, and they're your best players right now. So you added 3 veterans and Victorious Miller, who's an NBA player. I just think he's just pushed down in the rotation. Brian Pinton, good morning. Austin, there's some underrated musicianship and vocal work in that channel. I don't know that it's underrated, Austin. I mean, that's Mr. Toby Tomplay. He's a pretty phenomenal musician. He's he's got the AFR theme. I call him the king of the earworm. He and his wife, Shelly Brown Tomplay, mother of Roni the Tiger, are both really phenomenally talented people. Eddie Van Gundy, good morning. Brian, can y'all pray for my mom? She's not doing good. Sorry to hear that, Brian. Very sorry to hear that, man. Certainly will do. Keep us posted, man. Hey, Eric, you're a great sports talk host. Better dad. I really respect that. Great job. Thank you, Eric. That's the best job in the world, man. People tell me that, and it is flattering, but I don't know, man. It feels like I would think that everybody watching this is probably a good dad, right? I mean, if you're a father, that's just the best job in the world, man. Like, hey, Todd, looking at LSU schedule next year, they play 8 straight SEC games, Final 4 on the road. Who or how does scheduling work? That seems to be insane last month. So remember, Todd, the schedule hasn't been released yet. So we know who LSU is going to play. We don't know when yet. So we don't know the order. You can't just assume that it's going to flip from what it was this year. So the SEC is going to release, I think they announced it this week, like the they're going to announce it Wednesday, December the 11th. So we'll know the schedule on Wednesday. So we already know who LSU is going to play because the 8 SEC games, you're just flipping them. And we know they're going to open at Clemson. So they're just flipping the SEC opponents home and away, but we don't know the order. Like I would assume you'll still play Oklahoma on the last playing date, but and I assume Alabama will stay in the first Saturday of November, but everything else could change. So we'll see how that all goes. Hey, Jeremy, good morning. Barry, good morning. Rick, good morning. Cortland, I've been saying, say goodbye to charter flights. LSU needs to cut spending to get to $20 million. So I'll tell you this, Cortland. The $20 million is what he's talking about there, I'm sure, is the revenue share for athletes. I will tell you, they have, I've told you this for 2 years now. They've known revenue share was coming, and they've been working on the budget to see where they could trim to free up that space. Now, part of it also is revenue is going up with the new ESPN ABC TV contract. So knowing revenue is going up, if spending is flat and revenue goes up, well, now you have a margin there that you can contribute to the revenue share. But I think there also will be cuts within the athletic department to lean out some of the areas. And I'm sure we'll learn some of those because it's still a public university. So that spending will still be public record. Hey, Wade, let's see. If we can't retain Mason, Emery, and Perkins, what really is the point not paying someone like Cade Phillips an extra $200K? Yeah, it's a good question, Wade. But remember, even if you would have gone up another $200K for Cade Phillips, it's not a guarantee that he would have come, which is to say Texas wouldn't have countered with another $200K. So where does it stop, right? You don't know how long that song and dance went. That's part of it. And it is a very good question. But I think also, and Brian Kelly, he was very transparent in the way he said this in his answer on signing day. Ultimately, like, you have a finite amount of resources. You can't keep going up forever. So you have to decide, what does this player work? It's not that different in a negotiation like in an NFL contract where a team has to decide, okay, how much are you willing to pay this player relative to the percentage against your salary cap? And like, that's the number. There's only a certain amount you're willing to spend. So, what do you do there? Like, at some point you have to step away, and say, like, it's not worth going any higher. And so then what you do is you take those funds and you allocate them to the transfer portal, which is what LSU is going to do. I mean, we've told you, like, and Jakeem Jackson is the guy that I think everyone assumes LSU is going to land. Jakeem Jackson 2 years ago was the number 3 cornerback in the country. He signed with Florida to play for Corey Raymond and, played a ton as a freshman, was a starter this year, started the first 2 games, got injured, missed the rest of the season, and now entered the transfer portal. Well, that's a guy, if I told you, would you rather Jakeem Jackson, who was the number 3 cornerback in America, who Corey Raymond signed at Florida, who Corey knows his talent, skill, all that stuff, and has been in college now going to his 3rd year? Or would you rather a freshman and Cade Phillips and they cost you roughly the same? Well, there's your answer. I think in a perfect world, you get both. But if it comes to an either or, you have to make that decision. And at some point you have to say, we're not just going to keep going up for these players. Like, there has to be a stopping point somewhere. It's not baseball where there's no salary cap. And if the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs want to go spend $400 million on a roster a year, they can, they will. if the owner wants to. It's not the same. Roll Tide 99. If Bama is out, do we get Bama is burning? Maybe. What I'd never want to do with that segment, that bit, is overplay it. Because eventually you jump the shark, right? So see. JD Stevens, love you, but Breck is a hack. JD, if you knew nothing about him, but Dana White, Michael Chandler, Max Crosby, Steve Harvey, Damon John, like people who are independently wealthy, who some of them professional athletes who rely on their body for their living. And these people talk about him, endorse him, the success they've had. Like, forgive me, JD, to use your phrasing. JD, love you, but am I going to believe JD Stevens, the guy who's on Morning Scone with the wig and having a good time, or am I going to believe Max Crosby or Michael Chandler or Dana White or Damon John? Come on, JD. InfoWars, who did you predict would get in between Alabama and SMU? I don't know. I don't know what'll happen. It would not surprise me one bit, like not in the least, if the committee puts Alabama in. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. I think the way the game played out with Clemson and SMU is exactly what the ACC needed to get two in. Clemson gets the auto bid, and SMU lost a close game. My point will continue to be, if the committee had SMU 8, they had them firmly in, and they lost the ACC championship game in a close one, then why bother playing the ACC championship game? Like, that's the precedent that you're setting, is to say, why bother? And I know there's some saying they wouldn't dare leave out a team that lost their conference championship. I'm like, they did it last year to Georgia. And remember, Georgia was the 2-time defending national. Georgia had won back-to-back. Forget what you know about Georgia this year, losing some games up. Like, Georgia had won back-to-back national championships, and they were 12-0 undefeated in the regular season. Number 1 in the country. They go play the conference championship game against Alabama, lose, and they're out of the playoff altogether. Like, the committee has no precedent. They have no standard. They'll do whatever they want and explain it later. But what happens with the committee as a result is every decision they make creates a contradiction. Every explanation they give, there is a contradicting piece of evidence, because there is no way to do what they are trying to do effectively. It's just not possible. Patrick, great games yesterday. College football Saturday. It was a great day, man. It was a lot of fun. Kirk, notice in August doing the work. Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Steven, new AP poll is out. If that mirrors how the playoff committee selection goes, Bama would be in. I mean, would it really be mind-blowing, dude? I mean, I think most everyone has prepared themselves after last week's rankings for the possibility or likelihood of whatever happened for Bama being in. Replace the committee with computerized formula. I've argued, just bring the BCS formula back. And I know the BCS had the human element in it, because it for a while it used the AP and the coaches poll. But the AP said stop using our poll after the 03 thing with USC. But there's a way to do it. But if you have a large enough field of teams that's representative, and that metric is just determining seeding, well, fine. That's great. I think people wanted the human element so as not to be beholden just to the metrics. Either way. All right, please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Always shout out to Brock and Parrish. Hey, Brock, After Hours Clinic, open nights and weekends. It's a Sunday, so if you end up in need of an orthopedist today, Brock is open. And, of course, Parrish Construction and Roofing. Love to give you that free, no-obligation roofing inspection. So if you have any issues with your roof, we'd love to help you out. Parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Unique Physique and Restored Motions. Of course, Unique Physique, semaglutide, tirzepatide, the once-a-week injections for weight loss. If you want to check that out, you can. Never any contracts, lowest prices. You do the whole thing over telemed. They'll ship your medicine anywhere in the country. Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com. And, of course, Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions and restoredmotions.com. Andy, do you think revenue share can cause friction between coaches within an athletic department? Yeah, absolutely. Which program, how money, like if you have a finite amount of funds, let's say it's 20, I think it's roughly $20.5 million is what they're projecting for rev share. That entire 20.5 has to be shared among the entire athletic department. So football is going to get the largest piece of the pie, of course. But then how do you distribute the rest to make sure that everybody gets what they need or what they feel like they need? Jed Neal, being a dad. Yeah, absolutely. Best job. However, that's what we used during the BCS. It was not very correct. The difference, again, with the BCS is you were choosing two teams. And so no matter what it spit out, there was always going to be argument over who was left out. Can we assume Bama and OU will be in the same spots? Oh, for LSU schedule next year? I would, yes. Gulf South, good morning. Was looking forward to a rematch of Curtis Catholic in the Dome, but neither of our schools held up their end of the deal. On to next season. Who did Curtis lose to? I didn't look at the field. I know Catholic lost to Carr in a close game. Godly, they were leading 12-7 at half and lost 21-19. So, bummer. Sean, great point about LSU living leaner. I don't care either if it's an unpopular statement. Yeah. Like sometimes you have to be honest. Like now I understand the tricky component is Title IX. So there's always that part of it where, you have to spend the same on women's sports as you do on men's sports. That does complicate the issue. But you could lean out across the board. There's ways you could do it. Nick, good morning. Clemson's going to be a tough first game next year. True road game, no doubt. Have you heard about any non-revenue sports being cut or if Title IX dictates how revenue share is split between men and women? So as far as non-revenue sports being cut, have not heard that yet. I do think that's an inevitability. The Title IX question is a good one. And they are not splitting revenue according, it is not a 50-50 split among men's and women's sports. I'll tell you, football is getting more than 50% alone. That's before you even talk about men's basketball, baseball, and so on. So it is not a 50-50 rev share split with men's and women's sports on the revenue sharing side. And there are some, it's a good question, Gulf South, because like one of the first questions I asked, who said expect Title IX lawsuits immediately. So ultimately, it's all going to head to the courts, and we'll see what it says. BCS formula was the problem. It was the fact they only had two teams. That exactly right. Razor AP has 12 SMU, 13 Clemson, 14 South Carolina. Every team is behind the team they beat recently. It's so true. Hunter, good morning. Mark, make Matt the head of LSU down. They don't want me to do that, Mark. We'd be leaning out in a hurry. JD, believe the PhDs and say Breck is a hack. Oh, really? Really? So believe the people who live in a medical community that subscribes to prescribing medicine all the time instead of finding alternate natural ways of healing the body. Right. So I get it. Right. So the people trust. That's like That's like people in the oil industry saying electric cars are a scam. I don't care. Well, I don't care how you feel about electric cars or whatever. But of course, they have a vested interest in saying that. Like, get me an independent third party, someone who doesn't actually have anything to lose. Like, go listen to Dana White talk for an hour about how all the medical doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with him, about how he couldn't sleep, he felt miserable, he was dying, he had awful sleep apnea. Go listen to Dana White talk about it, and then how he got healed. That's an independent third party. That's a man giving a true testimony that has nothing to gain by giving that testimonial. You know who has something to lose by Gary Brecka doing what he does? A medical doctor prescribing pills to people all day. And by the way, I think there's tons of value in Western medicine. And I'm not, and if you listen to anything Gary Brecka says, he's never saying anything against medicine. Like, I fall down and break my leg, guess where I'm going? I'm going to the ER. And you know what I want? I want morphine in a hurry. Go this way. Oh, you are soaking wet. Why you're leaking, bud? But JD, you have to consider the source of the information. Who has something to lose, right? Go for look at an independent third party, like me. Here, all right, JD, I'm your case in point, brother. I'm 42 years old. I've lost 50 pounds. I feel amazing. I'll get my blood work back Friday. I'll share it all with you. Then you can tell me, dude's a hack, right? Sure, dude. I'm fit. I'm fit. I'm strong. I've lost a bunch of weight. I feel great. Like, I mean, forgive me, but you're going to sit there in the comments and tell me that guy's a hack when I'm when everyone's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm telling you what I'm doing. You're like, oh, that guy's a hack. Yep. Total hack. Hacked my way all the way into the best shape I've been in since I was 21 years old. What a hack. Because doctors said it, right? Doctors, the doctors that just keep feeding people pills all day. What, buddy? Oh, hey, babe. No. I've been doing my show, sorry. He's soaking wet too. I'm just showing you. Yeah. UGA was left out of fourth. Was left out of a 4-team, sixth place, still solidly in this year. Cortland, it doesn't matter. Like, the point being, they would penalize a team for losing a conference championship game when before the conference championship game, they were firmly in. That's the point, is the precedent. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the 4-team or the 12-team. Bama wouldn't be in, or SMU wouldn't be in a 4-team playoff anyway. It's just the concept of saying you were in, you lost your conference championship, an extra game that not everybody had to play, and we're penalizing you. The idea should be, in my opinion, you can only be rewarded for playing in a conference championship game, not penalized. Otherwise, why are you playing in this game? If playing in this game has a net negative result on your team, your program, why would you play in the game? Daniel, hate that LSU is playing SLU next year. I mean, I hate that they play any FCS teams. Playoffs, going back to the BCS, is and will be the Alabama Invitational Tournament. Disgusting. Hey, the BCS was good to LSU. Cameron, trading DDD until they capture him. I don't know what that is. How do you feel about LSU playing SLU? I mean, I don't want LSU to ever play an FCS team. All I want is college football games that matter. I don't want garbage games that nobody cares to see. Does LSU baseball turn a profit? Do you think there's any waste in the baseball program? Is there waste in the baseball program? Absolutely. There's waste in every program. Do they turn a profit? LSU baseball, I think, turns a slight profit. It's like less than $1 million a year. I mean, I think it's LSU is basically baseball is a program that effectively pays for itself. They don't lose money, but it is like, I'm not looking at it right now, but I don't want to say the wrong number. It is a negligible amount. It's not like it's a revenue generator, but it's something that pays for itself. Can you do Bama's burning if for missing the playoffs? They should be out. I'm not convinced they're going to be out, man. And we'll find out here in an hour. But I mean, I just know, like I've just seen it too much, and how the hierarchy works, man, to think that it's going to be any different. So I would assume they'll be in, and be pleasantly surprised if they're not. Hey, Bubba, good morning. Curtis lost to Alexandria. Okay. Greg Scone didn't get the Weller single. Oh, man. Russell's 15? Russell's 15 is great. Keith, any news on... Oh, hey, Keith, what's up, man? Any news on New Orleans radio station for AFR? So we're making a lot of progress. We started with... we had about 4 options that we were kind of vetting, and we've kind of narrowed down to what we feel is our best option. And we're going through all those conversations right now. There's actually a meeting on Thursday, which hopefully this Thursday, there's a meeting that I hope will finalize it. And then from that point, then it's a functionality of getting all the network and the technology and everything set up. So fingers crossed, hoping it gets done ASAP. And I think if when it does, it'll be an even better option than what we had before. That would still serve Greater New Orleans, the River region, the Bayou as well. So, oh no, I must have missed it. I'm sorry. It looks like Benadryl. Okay.
What? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go change your wet clothes. Okay. And here's the bag. And then Daddy walks in and go to small.
All right. What, babe? Yeah. Doing really good this morning.
He was up on it. I don't know how he's
I didn't realize LSU was in Bama's version of Dixieland Delight. Bama and ends up having 3 schools in their song as permanent opponents. I didn't know that either. Sean, bro, 50 pounds. Holy cow. Since last Christmas. Like if you look at a picture of me last Christmas, I was just under 250 pounds. I was actually I guess I've lost more than 50 now. I was 247 at my biggest. And just was not good. Needed to make some changes. And you know what's odd? How I stumbled on the Gary Brecka thing was I love the show. If y'all ever listen to How I Built This, it's a podcast that's basically people who built big businesses explaining how they built their business. Like on the way to Pensacola this week, I listened to Barefoot Wine and what's the other? Banana Republic. So super fascinating. So I like to listen to all of them. And one of them was an episode with the founder of Whole30, which I don't do Whole30, but it was a fascinating. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but I like to listen to all those episodes. And so because I listened to that podcast episode, I started getting targeted with all of these like healthy life, whatever, content on social media. And so that's when Gary Brecka started showing up in my feed. And so I kind of went down the rabbit hole there and learned. And it's pretty fascinating. It started me kind of on this path. So Andy, is Drew doing better? He is. Thank you for asking, Andy. We're on the mend. Louisiana was 0-3 this weekend. Yeah, man. Tulane, the Cajuns, and Southern all lost. All lost badly too. I wish I can gain 50 pounds. Oh, it was born with cerebral palsy. Have a black hole of a stomach. I can eat as much, won't gain it, but lose it instead. Man, yeah, we have the opposite problems there, for sure. Check out Gary Brecka. Don't listen to me and don't listen to JD. What I would tell you is to tell anybody. Do research and learn for yourself. It would be interesting to see, even, if like, as I'll tell you, you said you have cerebral palsy. So Drew has, a genetic abnormality, which sort of manifests all the issues that he has, both physical and cognitive. And so I always look at, any types of alternate therapies that can help him. It would force, like, Drew would force me into that mindset of, okay, what other, because whenever we kept being told when Eric was pregnant with him, prepare for comfort care, he's not going to have much quality of life or this or that. I just didn't accept that. So it was like, I started searching and seeking any possible, like, alternate therapies. Why, like, I learned a ton about stem cells and all different kinds of stuff. And by the way, I'm a big believer in Western medicine. Like, Western medicine saved Drew. I'm not saying that in any way. Like, our doctors, the surgeons are incredible. It's why he's alive. So, but I also think of it in terms of quality of life. So that's why whenever I saw the Gary Brecka stuff, I was like, I wonder if this would be something that could help Drew, physically, cognitively, gain weight, quality of life, any of that sort of stuff. So that's why I went down. I used myself as a guinea pig to say, would any of this stuff benefit Drew? So it's been interesting. Okay, answered that one. Unfortunately, Bama privilege is a real thing, no matter how much they haven't earned anything. It's true. I have every expectation Bama will get in. I've seen the movie too many times. It's true. Cortland, the computers balance out the personal bias. That's why LSU got in over the biggest brands. The personal bias favored USC. 1045 has terrible reception around Baton Rouge, has for years. Yeah, so so I get asked about this from time to time. I mean, it's been 15 years now, but so 1045 and 1049 FM are low power FM signals. They're Class C is how it's referred to, and that's all regulated by the FCC. So people always ask me, why can't you turn up the power? Well, you legally can't. So the FCC determines signal strength. So we are licensed for 5,000 watts on that FM tower on the 1045 FM frequency. 98.1, for example, Eagle 98.1 is a 100,000 watt FM. So it booms everywhere. Because we are a low power FM, we are more susceptible to being impacted by weather and atmospheric conditions. So a couple of times a year, and it's usually when the seasons change, there's these sunspots that create atmospheric conditions, which interferes with our frequency. So you'll notice also it's like certain times of day as well. I mean, maybe the best way to say it is like, think about how if you're driving a two-door sedan 80 miles an hour on the interstate and the wind's blowing, or if you're driving a tour bus on the interstate and the wind's blowing. Like, one is going to be dramatically more affected by the wind. One is going to barrel through it. That's kind of the difference with the signals. So it's why, because of the signal issue, it's why we have, for all the years we've been on air, continued to find ways to distribute our content on top of just the FM frequency, which in a digital age has served us very well. It's why we podcast the show and have forever. It's why we have streaming audio on our website. It's why we developed an app. It's why we have streaming video. It's why we have post-produced video everywhere. It's why we have all these affiliates. It's to give, to give everybody the opportunity to consume us however, whenever, wherever they want. So, but that's the issue with the 104.5 signal. There's no fixing it because that's all regulated by the FCC. Any update on the Saints? Yeah, man. Saints game day. Play the Giants today. Saints are a 5-point road favorite, which tells you how bad the Giants are. Kendra Miller's active. Looks like the Saints will also have Eric McCoy and Lucas Patrick back today, which is great. So hopefully they go get a win today. Level Up Man committee's excuse will be the same as it always is with the nebulous and non-detailed. Our job is best, not most deserving. We think Bama is a better team. You're not wrong, but they'll also vacillate there as well. The way I've always said it is they'll make their decision and explain it later. With precedent or rules, be darned. They'll do whatever they want to do. That's why any of us trying to figure it out doesn't really make sense. I use the app in Mississippi. Thank you, man. Cortland lost almost 100 pounds. There you go, dude. Not doing anything special. Need to get serious about it. Finish off. That's awesome, man. Abner Neal, good morning. Bill Gallion, Gary. Listen, Bill, I would tell you, like, you can go to YouTube. Here's what I would recommend. So Gary Brecka, there's 2 long sit downs that Gary Brecka did. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was on Brad Lee's podcast. Go listen to either or both of those, and it's where he talk. I mean, you'll hear him talk for an hour, 2 hours, and see if it makes sense to you. If it does, then learn more about it. I'm not telling you go jump in feet first and do it. Like, I probably listened to 10 hours worth of Gary Brecka podcast before I ever did any of this stuff. I wanted to learn as much as I could about it. That's just how I approach things. So that's what I would recommend. Go to YouTube or go to Spotify. Go listen to Gary Brecka on Joe Rogan's podcast, or go to YouTube and watch Gary Brecka on Brad Lee's show, LEA, Brad Lee. Those are 2 long form interviews where you can learn a lot about his approach and you make up your mind. Zachary Momack, can you explain why Clemson gets an auto bid? They won the league. 5 highest ranked conference champions. But the top 4 get a bye. But the top 5 highest ranked conference champions get auto bids. It was basically to allow for the Power 4 and 1 group of 5. Cortland, why can't 104.5 be stronger? So we can get areas, we get 98.1, 100.7. Is it because there is an ESPN station in other areas? It's because it's the 104.5 frequency. So not that it's ESPN. It's the FCC has licensed the 104.5 FM frequency to Guarantee Media, 104.5 and 104.9 at 5,000 watts as a Class C. So, like, you can't crank it up. That's what. And if we sold that license, right, like we sold the station to somebody else, they could flip the format, so it wouldn't be ESPN, but it would still be a 5,000 watt FM. Like, so that is determined by the FCC. There's nothing you can do about it. John, my comment enough. I was saying comparing him to someone at LSU, right? So he's talking about Scadaboo from Arizona State. I said he's like runs like Jacob Hester. I was like, yeah, the white running back. The white running back who runs hard. Brings his lunch pail to work every day, right? First one in, last one out. I'm teasing. We all know the comp. And whether you're doing it consciously or subconsciously, you're comparing him to the white running back. I could make a comment or a comparison to say that Scadaboo is probably more like Darrell Williams, running style-wise. But anyway. Or Darius Geis, actually, with the way that he breaks tackles, bounces off people, keeps his legs moving. Probably Geis is probably a better comp. And Scadaboo has better speed than Hester did, certainly. Anyway, but it's okay. Again, like whether consciously or subconsciously, we all do it. You see a white running back, you go, "Oh, what white running back does he remind me of?" Same with white receivers. Oh, the old Wes Welker style, 90% of my 104.5 consumption is on YouTube. Love it. You go do a great job. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that, man. I'll say it all the time. I don't care how you listen, watch, where, when, what format, long form, short form, video, audio. Just appreciate everybody being there. Look at Bill. Bill lost 70. That's great, man. Love to see that. Leon, good morning. John, phone and packing to move back to be all right. John, that a babe, that a babe, that a babe, that a babe. Come on down. Tony Janusa, LSU bowl game prediction. Yeah, no, all good, man. I'm waiting on the final word, but last week, last Monday after LSU had beaten Oklahoma, it seemed almost a certainty that LSU was going Texas Bowl against either TCU or Baylor. As the week went on, there was some discussion that it might end up being Music City. I believe Music City's probably still going to land on Missouri, and LSU's going to end up Texas Bowl. So I think Texas Bowl against Baylor TCU is most likely. But if you're looking for another destination, Music City would be the most probable. The Florida Bulls don't want LSU because LSU doesn't travel. They just don't go. LSU fans don't go to ReliaQuest, Citrus. They just don't go. So, remember, Citrus has the first pick after the playoffs. So my guess is Citrus will probably end up. Well, if Bama doesn't get in, Bama will go Citrus. If Bama does get in, I would guess Citrus Bowl goes Ole Miss, and then ReliaQuest would be South Carolina. Gator would be. I don't think how it would all play out. I think Missouri went up in Gator. Anyway, maybe A&M and Gator. I don't know. We'll see. But I think LSU is going to end up in the Texas Bowl against TCU or Baylor, is what I was told last week, and I think that sounds right. Leon, looking for a wallet to put my XRP, and since KuCoin isn't going to support any suggestions, are you looking for a cold storage wallet or a hot wallet? You could use a centralized platform like Coinbase or Crypto.com. That's probably what I would do. CBS says LSU Miami for the Gator Bowl. That'd be interesting. If there was a Florida Bowl that might pick LSU, it'd be Gator. But I was told pretty much point blank last week that the Florida Bowls are not interested in LSU because LSU doesn't travel. Cortland, interested to hear about Beck's injury. I was thinking UCL, given how he was hit. Yeah, that was nasty, wasn't it? God, you hate to see that. And his arm was just dangling, right? It's kind of what you're right, Cortland. That's kind of what you see when pitchers blow out, is their arm just dangles. And that's kind of what was happening to him, right? Boy, I really hope the best. That stinks. Andy, lost 50 pounds on a keto diet. Then the pandemic hit, ruined my routine. I felt 10 years younger. It's amazing what happens when we actually eat well and put the right fuel in our body and sleep and do the things we're supposed, like we were genetically engineered to do. Charles, do you think Loomis will step down as GM? No, I don't. I do not. All right, y'all, think we're done. Appreciate y'all for being here, man. Good morning, good show. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. This is, Tony said, I live in Texas, hopefully the Texas Bowl. So, Tony, that's one of the reasons why the Texas Bowl is so appealing for LSU, because Houston is the second largest alumni base. Houston is the largest alumni base outside of Louisiana for LSU. And then it's easy. It's an easy drivable trip for LSU, from Baton Rouge, 4 hours to Houston. Then people in Southwest Louisiana can make that trip, from Lake Charles, 2 hours. It's an easy trip for LSU fans. And so then if you end up playing TCU or Baylor, you're playing a team in Texas. So it's a close travel trip for them as well. So they kind of look at how they can sell tickets, create interesting matchups, all that sort of stuff. That group of 6 bowl games after the Citrus, they're all viewed as the same now. It's just about mixing and matching to create good matchups and travel where fans are going to go and all that stuff. So, all right, last one here. We'll jump. Thinking about starting a podcast. Any advice to a young buck? Yeah, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody, which is if you're thinking about starting a podcast, stop thinking about it and do it. There's way too much paralysis by analysis. People think about what they want to do instead of just doing. You have to start creating. You have to be patient because initially no one is going to listen to your show other than you and your parents or your family. And like there's the catch-22 in the digital age of media is there's never been a better time because the barrier to entry is zero. Meaning, even when I started radio in 2003, like podcasts weren't a thing. The only way that you could get reps on air is if one of the gatekeepers deemed you good enough to have an opportunity to be on air. Now that's not true. I mean, this gives you digital audio and free distribution anywhere in the world. So, I mean, the barrier to entry is zero. You can get international distribution for free on your phone. That's crazy. Or YouTube, right? The catch-22 is because it's so easy and there is no barrier to entry, the competition is greater and it's never been harder to get noticed. So people who want to do a show usually, so I 99.9% fail. You start, you do a show, you do a couple episodes, nobody listens, and you quit. And it's just what most people do. So, but the advice is start and be consistent and realize nobody's going to listen to anything you do for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Like nobody's going to listen to anything you do until and unless if you're good enough and you catch a break and you break through. But like, I mean, like, this is a great case in point. I've been doing media since 2003. Today is Morning Scone episode 2509. Put this into perspective. Today is episode 2509. For 2,509 consecutive days I've done this show. And right now there's 210 people watching live, and I love all of you for being there. We usually average about 1,000 or 2,000 views a day. There's days it's bigger, days it's smaller, whatever. But like, understand building something massive at scale, which people think they're going to do, is hard. It's really hard. Clover, AP has Bama at 11. Don't care. Well, I bet they also don't have Arizona State in the top 12 either. I mean, I'm not looking at it right now, but Arizona or Clemson, and they're both going to be in the playoff, right? So, all right. Let's see. Heather Dinich has her projection up. She has Bama out. She has Indiana 10, SMU 11, Clemson 12. Heather Dinich has Bama out. Actually, said if you didn't have them as the first two out. Oh, Bama and Miami. Never mind. Yeah. All right. Let's jump, y'all. Let's jump. Y'all have an awesome day. Who dat? See the Saints go get a win. See what the playoff committee says here in just a little bit. And we'll be here for a Saints postgame reaction show. Look forward to it. And we'll see you. Y'all have an awesome day. Hey, sponsors are linked in the description on YouTube and tag.